this is yours truly, yours truly, 50 only, and I am doing another two episodes of House of Pain. First of all, let me just say I know I've been away for about 2 weeks, just life stuff happening, but I'm back, and so I'm gonna be reviewing Tyler Perry's House of Pain episodes 19 and episodes 20. Episode 19 is called The Package, and episode 20 is called If You Love Me. So episode 19 starts off with Jasmine in her house. She's walking around, and just to backtrack, remember that CJ and Janine both told her boyfriend Kaleb that he was only allowed to come around her if he was invited to dinner or some family gatherings, because they wanted to get to know him better. So instead, Kaleb waits until her parents leave, and he starts showing up in different places around the house. Like, he's knocking on the back door, he's in the window, and she's telling him, you can't be around here. I'm gonna get in trouble. So meanwhile, she goes over to Aunt Ellen, Uncle Curtis's house, and Calvin is there, and he's basically telling her that he's waiting for a package for Aunt Ella, and he really needs her to stay there to retrieve the package because he has to go see Pookie and Peanut. So she basically bribes him and agrees to stay. So after Calvin leaves the house, then there's a knock on the door, and it's Kaleb. Kaleb comes in, and he's talking to her, and Kaleb is the sly one. And I don't know if you guys know, but I don't know if you think the same thing I do, but every time I see him, he looks just like Chris Brown. And he's a handsome guy. He's got a lot of talent. I can tell just watching him that he's going to go far. He does really well on the show. So he comes in and he's talking to Jasmine, and he's like trying to be all slick and talking to her and telling her, he really is trying to convince her to sleep with him. And Jasmine keeps on telling him no. He continues to pressure her. And then all of a sudden, Calvin comes back in the house because he couldn't find his keys. So he comes in and he's looking for his keys, and she tells Kaleb to go in the kitchen. So he's hiding in the kitchen. So when Calvin comes back in the house, Jasmine's acting really, really weird, and she's all of a sudden just kind of like just acting strange. And Calvin's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Nothing, cousin Calvin, nothing." So he's like, "Jasmine, what's going on?" And she continued to say that there's nothing going on. So then they're both in the kitchen, and somehow Calvin noticed that Kaleb was hiding, and he told him to come out. She was like, "Who's that boy back there behind the counter?" So that's the way episode 19 ended. So then when it comes back in episode 20, Calvin tells him to come from back there, and Calvin asks Jasmine what's going on. So both Kaleb and Jasmine are both continuing to act like they don't know what's going on. So Calvin threatens to call CJ and Janine, and that's when, Jasmine's like, no. Then she finally tells Calvin that she didn't even know that Kaleb was coming over. She said they were talking at her place, and he followed her over there. So CJ was calling him a stalker, which actually that's true and creepy, I might add, because for him to be like in her window and at her door, and she continues to tell him no, and he continues to stalk her, that's kind of creepy. That's a red flag to me. If I was Jasmine, I don't think I would deal with Kaleb. But again, Jasmine's inexperienced, and I understand that she's not really sure what to do because she really likes him, and this is really like her first, I think, real boyfriend. So then, as they continue to deny or, try to act like nothing's really going on, Kaleb calls Calvin old, and I didn't realize that Calvin said he was 38. I didn't think Calvin was quite that old, but I'm gonna have to do the math. So then, CJ was being very, very intelligent when he was talking to Kaleb, trying to get Jasmine to see what kind of a guy he was by, he was playing along like, yeah, man, I was like that. I used to, hey, I did many girls back in the day or whatever. And, Kaleb is like, really? He was like, wow. He was talking about how, there was some girl that he was getting ready to go into detail about this girl that he had apparently waited for the parents to leave and he snuck into her house. So Kaleb has a history of doing this. So Calvin's looking at Jasmine like, oh, Jasmine, you hear this? You hear what he's saying? This is not new. This is something that he does all the time. And Kaleb continued to say, oh no, this is way before you. And how many times do guys, and I'm not saying it's all guys, but a lot of guys, when they're trying to manipulate a girl or, just be manipulative in general, how many times do they use that? Oh, it was way before you. This happened way before you. That sounds very, very familiar and common in situations like this. And so then Aunt Ella and Uncle Curtis come in. And they overhear that Kaleb was trying to sleep with Jasmine. So, of course, they're both livid. Uncle Curtis, which I loved. This show really, to me, Uncle Curtis was back to his old self. Like the way he was acting with Kaleb and just the whole thing. Like, they grew up. Jasmine was a little girl. She was like 6 years old when she started living at their house. So, Uncle Curtis is very protective of her, and so is Aunt Ella. And let me just say, I know people probably think that maybe they're a little bit too involved in Jasmine's life in terms of like saying something about this guy or just in general, just talking about, like, they might think that that's more for her parents. But to be honest, Jasmine lived with Uncle Curtis and Aunt Ella for a long time. So they're kind of like almost like parents to her as well. And another thing that I thought was interesting, that how they are very involved, and I'll tell you a little bit later what I think about that. But so they're basically both of them trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. And Uncle Curtis is grabbing Kaleb and like threatening to kill him and everything, because he's like, look, this is my little Jazzy. You're not, like, you're talking about sleeping with her. And so Aunt Ella's trying to get to the bottom of it. Like, what's going on? What did he say? And so finally Jasmine comes out and says, that Kaleb has been pressuring her, and that he asked her to have sex with him, and she said no. And so then Aunt Ella was like, and what did he say? And he said, if you love me, you would. And that set Uncle Curtis off. And so, Uncle Curtis basically kept trying to choke Kaleb, and he was trying to really, like, he was trying to keep his cool, but he was upset. So he told Kaleb to go out back. Aunt Ella did, so they could talk, and Uncle Curtis and him could talk. Then he tried to run out, and then Uncle Curtis went behind him. And then Jasmine and Aunt Ella sat down, and they began to talk. And Aunt Ella said that after Uncle Curtis finished with him, that they would have a conversation with both of them. Now, the thing that I really liked about this was, first of all, it felt like the old House of Payne. It felt so familiar. It was nice. Now, sometimes the bantering back and forth of saying the same thing sometimes can be a little bit annoying, but for the most part, they reminded me of old House of Payne. It was not just, it was, aside from Janine and CJ and Malik, everybody was on there, which was nice. And I like the new guy that plays Jasmine's boyfriend. He's a good asset to the show. The funny thing about it was, and also it was interesting. So we now know that Ella goes to the same church that Kaleb goes to. I mean, I know people are saying, well, they mentioned that before because she saw him in church, but I didn't know for sure if she was just visiting another church, or if it was the actual church that she's been going to, or if this is a new church that she goes to. So now we know that Caleb's father is her pastor because Uncle Curtis had a problem with her talking to him. So the thing that I wanted to point out that I thought was really nice is the support of a family. I know it may look or seem like they're too involved in Jasmine's personal life, like Uncle Curtis on Ella, they're just all in it. But coming from, and I'll just be very candid, like when you don't have that kind of support, like you don't have a lot of family members that are in your life that are making sure that you're okay, it can almost look and feel strange to watch that kind of behavior. But because they are such a close-knit family, and close-knit families, that's very common, and I think it's wonderful that Jasmine has that kind of support, and Malik. I mean, they have a family that really loves them, rallies around them, knows everything about them to protect them, and I think that's a great thing. I like that Tyler Perry brought that out because unfortunately there are a lot of families or a lot of homes that don't have that level of support. So I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was very good. So overall, I enjoyed this episode, these two episodes. I like them, especially episode 20. That was extremely funny. And I just, what do you think about Kaleb crushing her? I think Kaleb is a decent guy. I do. I think that he's just out here doing stuff. I think he's doing what normal kids do. I don't think it's anything strange for him to be out here. I do think he's a little bit fast for Jasmine. But I also think that he's also looking for some attention. That might come out later. That's just my opinion. But because he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot. Like he apparently raps and he has all these IG fans. He's got a lot of girls that, maybe he's dealt with in the past. It's not really, I'm not sure if he's being honest because we already see that he lies. So I don't know if he's telling the truth about, about these girls being in the past. Now, somebody had made a comment about him possibly being the father of Lisa's baby. Lisa is Malik's girlfriend. I don't think so. I don't think they would go that route. That would be a little bit too messy, and I just don't see that. I think they want to keep these two storylines separate because they are two very different situations going on at one time. So with that being said, like I said, I really enjoyed the episode. Now, one thing I want to mention too is that China McClain did a video and she was talking about being unhappy with Hollywood.
In the way of the world now. It's real. And all this is an illusion. It's an illusion. This industry, for what it is, and everything that people look to and praise, it's not important. God is moving me in more than one way than just this show. It's bigger than this show. I'm doing God's work now. And I'm not doing anything else. I'm just gonna put it plainly.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you look it up on YouTube, you can see it. She was talking about, she was actually tearful. She was just talking about how she's going to be quitting Hollywood and just making movies that she really wants to make. And I think it sounded like she was, talking about her faith and her faith in God and how she wanted to really more so focus on that and do movies that she thought was important. So I don't know where she's going to be standing in terms of House of Pain as time goes on, but she did mention that. So I'll be curious to see if she's going to continue to do House of Pain. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So that's it for these two episodes of House of Pain. I hope you all enjoyed the review. I want to encourage everybody. I know that it's tough out here right now during this pandemic. I don't know if you're familiar with the Winans, but there's a song that Marvin Winans and Anita Baker did years ago. And the words were, "Ain't no need of worrying what the night is going to bring, because it'll be all over in the morning." I want to encourage everybody that I know we all have a night season, and whatever your night season is, it could be different from mine. Like, you could be dealing with the loss of a job, or you could have lost somebody from COVID, or you could be dealing with COVID, or just dealing with the stress of the change and how things are being done. Everything, everybody's situation is different, but whatever your night is, just know that the morning will come, and it's going to be over in the morning. When your morning comes, I don't know. I don't know what your morning, the time frame of your morning, because your morning might be tomorrow, or your morning might be a month from now. Now, if we're talking about the pandemic as a whole, we all, in that respect, that morning is going to come when we finally get to a place of normalcy, a new normal, because I don't believe it's ever going to be the way that it was. But that's a good thing in some ways. So we just have to look at it a different way. But I just wanted to encourage everybody to take a minute and let you know that even though you may be in a night season, there are things that you may not like. You might be frustrated. You might feel alone. You might feel like you're not going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But know that your morning is going to come, because after nighttime, there's always day. So be encouraged, everybody, and keep your head up and know that it'll be all over in the morning. Be blessed.